Funire da elekba. Funire da. Funire da ogun. Funire da. Funire da ochosi. Funire da. Funire da o batala. Funire da. Funire da o shun. Funire da. Funire da ori. Funire da. I am asking. Funire ida. I am asking for good fortune and balance for the entire world. I have called upon Elegba, Ogun, and Ochosi, who are the Orishas who show us the way, who protect us and provide for us. And I have also called upon Obatala, who is our deity of wisdom, and Oshun, our deity of prosperity, beauty, and affection. And then lastly, I invoked Ori, which is all of our consciousness. My name is Luisah Teish. Most people know me as Yeye, and I am a Yoruba priestess, a priestess of the African diaspora, with a mandate to relate to all of the traditions of the world and to knit kinship between us. With me today, I have my longtime partner, Kahuna Leilani Byerly. So, Leilani, will you introduce yourself and then we'll go into the subject?
Aloha, everybody. I'm really excited to be here with you all, seeing friends old and new. And Tish and I have worked together on a variety of things. And as she mentioned to some of us earlier, I'm really excited that she now has the Jambalaya Center in Guerneville. So who knows, maybe we'll all be meeting there in person at some point. It's a
Hmm.
beautiful 5 acre property near the river with redwood trees, and I really feel like we're in Hawaii. So we've invoked the beautiful energy of the forest, of the water, of the land, and I'm just happy to be here sharing my aloha and care of the land of the Aina with all of you. And thank you, Dawn, for all your beautiful work. I've had the opportunity to meet you in the past back here in the Bay Area with Tish, and I know you've been comrades in arms in many different types of spiritual configurations. So it's just a lovely gathering and to see the others that are here too as well. Blessings. Mahalo. Thank you.
So, Leilani, will you do the Hail Mai for us?
Yes, I'd be happy
Hmm.
to.
Hmm.
So I'm going to do the Eho Mai chant. And what that chant is, it's a Hawaiian chant. And so I ask that you all come into your breath, which is your ha, your connection to the life force. So just breathing in through your nose and out through your mouth. And if we were together, we would exchange breath as a way of greeting one another and also sharing our mana, our spiritual power, our spiritual energy to just increase the beautiful vibration of community, of connection, of the magical reverence that we all have for the earth and for the different traditions and things we do. So staying in that ha breath of life. And as I do the Eho Mai, you could join in if you want to, or just keep breathing because that also helps support the chant. And we're asking that our EK, our ability to see not just with our eyes, the actual physical world, but our ability to see from the above, from the beyond, into the meaning and the depth of chants, of ceremonies, of dances. And often as a hula dancer, we chant this before to help us to become more open to the beautiful spiritual energy that we're trying to invoke as we do ceremonies. So I ask that we all be imbued with this chant of the Eho Mai, that our EK be open and that we have the ability to see and understand the seen and unseen realm. Eho Mai Ike Mai Luna Mai Hina mea huna noia. O na mele e ho mai. E ho mai. E ho mai. E ho mai. Ki ike. Mai luna mai e. Hina mea huna noia. O na mele e ho ma e ho
my,
e
oh,
ho mai e ho mai ki ike mai luna mai e hi na mea huna no au o na mele e ho
oh my,
e ho
my,
e ho
my.
mahalo.
Mahalo. Thank you so much, Leilani, and thank you everybody for being here. The main theme of our sharing today is to talk about a shift in our perspectives so that there we come to a place of unity between traditions at a time when there is a clear program that is designed to divide and destroy us. Okay. I am very, very clear about the dangers of the 2025 agenda. I am very, very clear that it is being implemented and enforced at levels that a lot of people don't understand. And one of the things that's really important for us to pay attention to is the encroachment of Christian fundamentalism and that super conservative attitude that sees anything except the major traditions as the enemy to be attacked. Okay, when you have a situation like that, the first thing that we need is protection against the encroachment. And in order to have protection, we have to have a unified way of communicating with each other, right? So that we can stand fast against that encroachment. Okay. Now, what happens is these days I talk a lot about decolonizing. Okay. It is very, very clear to me that everybody has been negatively impacted by the colonization process. Okay. That whole doctrine of discovery thing where people were encouraged and even financed to go to other people's lands and rape and pillage and demonize their deities. You know, when I was coming up in the civil rights movement, we used to talk about the 3M company. And the 3M company was missionaries, money, the Marines. That's the 3M's that have been used to destroy cultures clean across the board. Okay. Growing up as a little black girl in the segregated South, um, indoctrinated through Catholicism, repressive Catholicism, but at the same time around the very whisperings of African retentions of spirituality. That was a big contradiction in my mind for a long time because everything said that the African me was inferior to what I had inherited as a Roman, right? But the nature of spirituality is such that if you talk to the ancestors enough, asking for clarity, things will happen to impact your consciousness so that you get the answer to your question. You are led to find out. And what I found out, three important things. The most important thing is that there's a certain thing called universal principles. There's a law, a universal law that is true for all beings for all times, right? But we were led to believe that that didn't exist, or that it only existed in the clutches of Judeo-Christian teachings, right? I discovered that that everybody I encountered had been negatively impacted by this doctrine of discovery and this domination code, you know. I was stunned to find out that everybody had been oppressed by somebody, you know. And when you grow up a young black child in the segregated South, there's this question in your mind, well, what happened? Did white people just go crazy one day? Right? That's that naive question. And asking that question led me to studying the long line of history. And I think it was Marilyn Stone's book, 5,000 Years of Racist Oppression, that showed how Rome did this and the Japanese did that and the other. And I recognized that everybody had been exploited. Everybody had been hurt. When we come up to today, the thing that we really have to deal with is, I know that there has been a concept of indigeneity. Who is indigenous is something that I want to unpack. I want to unpack it. First of all, I can say that most black people have no idea that there's such a thing as an indigenous group of white people. You know, if I say I know somebody who's Sami, they say, what's that? What's that? Where did that come from? And I know that on every land, there were a group of people who existed before contact with exploiters. I know that all of those people had a relationship to the earth, and all of those people had an idea about spirit, right? But we've been divided out because of the history. So I don't know how much time we have, but I want to talk a little bit about the impact of colonization both in Africa and in Hawaii. Okay, so Leilani will speak to Hawaii. What is very, very devastating for me as a descendant of Africa is taking a look at, no matter what kinds of tribal differences or fights we may have had among ourselves, it was not until Islam came in and somebody put a knife to your neck and say, accept Islam or die, right? And so you accept on a superficial level, right? And then what has really hurt my culture is when the Christian missionaries came in and redefined Elegba as the devil. We have no devil. We have no devil, right? But the impact of that colonial thing caused us to be alienated from spirit, to warp sexuality, to have our resources taken away from us because we did not have a monetary value on it. You know, Mansa Musa, who is known as the richest man who ever lived, every map of the world you see him holding the world in his hands. And what happened was, given the West African policy that a big man is one who parades in the street giving away his wealth, Mansa Musa made the cultural mistake of doing that on his way to Mecca and ruined the gold standard, right? And then everybody asking, where did this fool get this gold from? And that led to the invasion of his country and his world. And the gold standard has been strange ever since then. Okay. So we are living in the shadow of that, which comes down in a number of ways. The exploitation of Africa's resources, including the slave trade, the labor, everything that has come from that, and a divisive sense of classism between us. This person who has more money is somehow more human than this person who does not have money. And we got to deal with that. We've got to stop that. So, Leilani, do you want to give a little history of colonialism in Hawaii?
Yes, I love that, Teish. Thanks for what you shared.
Hmm.
Um, well, I was thinking about when you were talking, there's so much to say, but I think what I want to focus on is the energetics around land and land ownership,
Hmm.
because and then a different style of leadership where in Hawaii the chiefesses and chieftains who are known as the alii were only seen as good leaders if all the people were fed and taken care of. So there wasn't this idea of pillaging your own people and taking everything they had and leaving nothing for the common people. So even though there was a somewhat of a hierarchical structure as far as the spiritual elders and leaders and the alii, the idea that everybody had a home, had a place to live, had land to work on, had food to grow. We're not going to go starving. All children were taken care of.
Hmm.
It didn't matter if it was your own child or if it was an auntie or a relative. There was always someone there to take care of the children. And in
Hmm.
Hawaii we have a system of adoption called hanai, which is uh, been challenged by the authorities because they don't like the idea of someone having two mothers
Right.
and or yeah, the two mothers and two fathers. That's very confusing for the Western mind concept. Where in Hawaii, we feel like, the more parents, the better.
Hmm.
And everything was very open as far as a child knowing who their birth parent is. And, it wasn't a hidden thing. And
Hmm.
so the child was always raised knowing I'm loved by, I have so many people that love me was the energy. So this idea of communal sharing
Hmm.
and the land divisions went from the ocean to the mountain, and always the people from the sea would trade with the people of the mountains that had the taro root and the poi and the sweet potato, with the folks that would stay in charge of the water and the sea and had the fish and all the different beautiful seaweeds and things that come from the ocean. So there was this constant exchange of the people that lived on the different parts of the land to make sure that you had your nutrition. And it was done so well that there was also a care for the environment. So if you noticed that something was going on in the ocean, like the water looked different, you would let the upland people know something about the irrigation you're doing upland isn't working and there's too much of whatever's coming down from the mountain. So there was this harmonious balance
Hmm.
of making sure that everything was well tended. So it was very confusing to the Westerners, both in the way that we dressed, because you'll see in a very hot tropical climate, the missionaries coming over wearing, full regalia, button-up shirts and big skirts and whatnot. Because for us, we were so um, uh, just our bodies were natural. There wasn't anything wrong with women's breasts
Right. No
showing.
shame.
No, there wasn't any concept of shame around the human body or sexuality or, and I know there's often stories in many Polynesian islands, even in Hawaii as well as Tahiti, where when the ships would come, the explorers, the ships of discovery,
Mm-hmm.
that they'd often see the women and the locals that were swimming to the ships to greet people. They would think that the women were prostitutes because
Mm-hmm.
they were bare
Mm-hmm.
breasted,
Mm-hmm.
and that it was kind of like a sinful sexual climate.
Right.
And we didn't believe in that concept. I mean, yes, there was the dark and the light,
Mm-hmm.
and justice, and those that were not living right through
Mm-hmm.
being pono. Through living pono means living for the highest good of all involved. So it wasn't that there wasn't any type of checks and balances as far as right and wrong, but
Mm-hmm.
there wasn't the same Western mentality as far as women's bodies. And we're very, even to this day, very matrifocal, that the women and the children are extremely honored. And no matter where you go, if you take an elder friend or auntie or grandma, wherever you go, they're like, hello grandma, how are you, hi auntie, even if it's not your
Mm-hmm.
relative,
Mm-hmm.
just out of respect, rather than, who is this old woman coming in here.
Mm-hmm.
And you'll see the kids step to the side if they're on a sidewalk to
Mm-hmm.
let folks through. It just automatically happens.
Right.
So I know we talk about home training, teaching
Yeah.
you and I have
Home
talked
training.
about kind of basic home training
Mm-hmm.
ways that you're raised that start from a very early age about how to be respectful to one another, but not in a fearful. I mean, you can be fearful sometimes, but it's really about an honoring type of respect.
Right. 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 So here's the thing I want to talk about today. Thank you very much, Leilani. It has been my experience over the years between the 70s and today that in the schools and in the circles that I was traveling in, there was a separation between who is indigenous and who is not indigenous, right? And I mean, I had several experiences where I would be involved, try to be involved in something, and would be told that I am not indigenous. Because I'm African American, it was said that I was not indigenous to this country. Okay? People had used indigeneity to both to exploit Native Americans, to limit it to that definition, right? To treat Native American people like exotic trinkets while at the same time exploiting their lands and their resources, right? um, as a person of African descent who had been taken away from my land and my people for, we had a government that regarded me as a nothing from nowhere with no roots, right? And so that kept coming up and coming up, and the question became, what is the definition of indigeneity? It is the people who are related to the land. Okay? So then we had to start asking the question about what is the perspective here? Okay, how long, given that people migrated all over the globe, how long should a people be on a land before they can be called indigenous to that land? And that is just a political definition. It has nothing to do with, your relationship and your feelings about the land. after going through a number of changes of challenging, uh, my position as the African woman, it has been proven that every human being on the planet evolved from my womb. I am the mother of all of humanity, right? No matter what color you are or what continent you are on, it comes back to the ancient African mother, and we can trace we can trace all of that. So the question becomes, the statement is, we are all indigenous to this planet. We are all indigenous to this planet, right? And saying that is not intended to take rights from anybody. It is more incentive to defend the rights of people who have taken care of a particular plot of land in a particular place. But what I am reaching for, because I have seen um, divisive arguments, we now have the designation BIPOC, Black Indigenous People of Color. Black indigenous people of color. And though one would think that name would encompass or would bring about comfort, what has happened is that with all of the recent DNA research that people are doing, there's another division coming up. There are people who have grown up as white who have discovered they got some black blood, right? There are people like me who, when they trace me, they see Africa. They also see ancestors in Puerto Rico. They see Tainos. They see all kinds of people. They even recently, one company told me they found my DNA in a mummy in Peru, right? So I start to get real clear, you know, that these racial divisions are created by those who wish to exploit us. I think there's a fellow named Tim who talks about how the concept of whiteness came into existence, okay? These are the things that are used by enemies to separate us, to say, my welfare is not your affair, or that you and I should have to compete for whatever little crumbs they are throwing out there. So I would like to gently have us start to think of the concept of primal life people. I say that people who aspire to have a stewardship relationship to the earth, those who look at what they have inherited from their ancestors, those who want to live in balance with other human beings, I think that those qualities of relationship to earth, to spirit, to ancestors, to members of your village, to have the connection to the whole picture, that is primal life. That is what we were doing before we were exploited, before we were separated. Okay, so it came clear to me one day when people was talking about race, and I had to say, guess what, y'all? Clarence Thomas is not a man of color. His skin may be black, but he is not a primal life person. He is not somebody who we want to emulate. We have to be able to not only name the destruction that he is waging, but we have to be able to stop him and people like him, and we have to be about the work of repairing the damage that has been done. And in order to do that, I think, we have to develop a language of kinship so that we can talk to each other and be understood. Okay? Now, as soon as I say that, um, what comes up is 5 years ago when my mother crossed, my sister, who is some kind of Christian, I don't know what kind it is, she told me,
Did we lose Tisha's connection?
It appears that we have. Hopefully she will be right back. I'm watching for her button to reappear. I have to say this has been most fascinating so far. Hopefully she knows that we lost the connection. There we go.
I don't know what happened, but all of a sudden my computer went black, but I'm back. What I was saying, is that, my sister, who is some kind of conservative Christian, I don't understand exactly what she is, but at my mother's funeral, she said to me, I don't want you lighting no incense. I don't want you burning no candles. I don't want you chanting nothing. I don't want you doing none of them pagan rituals. I don't want you doing none of them pagan rituals. And part of me said, okay, Teish, are you going to take the time to give this girl the 5,000-year-old history of Yoruba tradition? Or are you just going to tell her, kiss my ass, this is my mama, and I'm going to do what I need to do? Right? And for her, it was very, very shocking because when it was my turn, not only did I show her video of a parade in the street in Ghana for my mother, but also people playing bells in Tibet for my mother. Okay. And we need to have a network where we can provide each other with that kind of global support, right, around the things that we are doing so that when they come to turn over our altars, when they come to cut down our sacred trees, when they come to hang our women, that they will not have a door open for that to happen. From here on out, none of us should feel like we are alone. All of us should be informed of what's going on and be in touch enough that that there's no weak link in the chain where they can come in and destroy. I am very, very concerned about this because I hear more and more rhetoric that sounds like, we're going to get put down. I am seeing more programs on more movies where witches are being burned, right? I am seeing that encroaching message, right? And the best defense against it is unity among us, a watchful eye, and mutual protection. And in order to do that, we have to overcome the language, the attitudes, and the fears that we have inherited from colonialism. Yeah, I think that that's the main message that I wanted to put out here today. Anybody got any questions or comments they want to make about this? Because it's a big subject, and I know, like I tell my students sometime, what we're doing here is we are licking an iceberg, right? We're going up to an iceberg and licking it, knowing that there is so much more. But I am very, very grateful to know that this Congress exists because I'm blessed to be a Yoruba priestess. And what happens is twice a year, all the priests from all of our major countries get together and they perform divination and they ask what is coming and how should we conduct ourselves, okay? And two things that came out that was very, very important. One was they said, he wears the crown of a king with the mind of a child. Okay, we see that. We see that. Okay, so, we have to think about, we've got these boys, these old men who are playing adolescent empire games. Okay, we need to do the kind of work to impact their consciousness for them to go play that game on a game board, but not with our lives. Okay. The deity of infectious diseases gave us spiritual work to do to maintain our health. And we have a madman who wants to eliminate measles vaccines, right? And there is a call. There's a message that says we have to globally do the work. That's why at the Jambalaya Center we're going to offer a certificate in spiritual activism. I want to train people so that they know what they're doing and how to apply spiritual power to address social and political issues that are going to impact us. We were told, this is really wonderful, last year we were told that the plant people know how much trouble the humans are in, and they are meeting underground to see how they can help us. The plant people are meeting underground to see how they can help us. And so to that end, in November, I'm going to be at a conference in Santa Fe, and I'm going to speak on the behavior of mushrooms and biomimicry as spiritual practice. If we want to return to our indigenous ways, the best way is to study nature and rebuild our systems in accordance with them. That makes the most sense to me, right? And then this time around, the plant um wow. Why do I keep blocking the name of it, but it grows wild, and it has pledged to protect us. It has pledged to protect us. And I'm gonna call up the name of that plant again, because I've got a whole lot of it. It grows very, very well. It's very nutritious when it starts out, but we were told that this is a plant that will protect us. That will protect us. And we've gone from ritually, we had 1 year where we did rituals to still the hand of death. Then we did rituals to prevent severe illness. And by the way, I want to gather some people to see if we can cast out cancer. I would like for cancer to no longer exist, right? And then this year we got the ritual for longevity, you see. So we need to be doing our rituals and following the guidance so that we know we're doing the right thing at the right time. And so I could envision, I don't know what is going to come out of this, but I could envision a circle of people from every tradition, right? Where we take turns with somebody standing in the center and sharing with us what is the gift of their tradition that we can incorporate, and then they get back in the circle and the next person goes to the center and can say this is what we have to offer, so that we end up with a holism. We end up with a circle of shared wisdom, shared resources, and shared protection. Leilani, did you want to add anything? We got about 14 minutes left, I think.
I love everything that's being said. Oh, I just want to say, Teish has a lot of amazing books,
Hmm.
and I want to
Oh,
put in that
yeah.
we did on Holy Ground, which we address a lot of sacred things, how to treat the earth sacredly, and then of
Hmm.
course Teish's book Jambalaya, and your most recent book is Calabash Cowries.
Right.
So, but I just wanted to say that I had my dark goddess humor was awakened when you said that Clarence Thomas is not a person of color. So he won't be invited to be one of the Supreme Court justices on the indigenous.
That's right.
He won't be one of the people of color for the indigenous
Mm-mm.
pagan World Congress
Mm-mm.
Supreme Court. So not
No, we
qualified.
will not invite him. We will
Yeah.
not
So
invite him and the
yeah,
people like him.
yeah.
Mm-mm.
And I just and I do have to say that part of the damage done is so many people of color are still missionized and choosing to stay in kind of like the missionary plantation
Hmm.
mentality.
Plantation
Uh,
punch.
Yeah, and so just trying to educate even those that have risen career wise, or maybe making really good money, have titles, and from a Western perspective, have really assimilated. I know a lot of our parents raised us to get an education, to
Mhm.
do better for ourselves, and this and that. But some of the translation hasn't really come out the way that we had hoped it to be.
Right.
And some of those reflections can be disappointing.
Hmm.
So continuing to self recognize that sometimes the Western model of success does not necessarily mean that we have made it to where we need to be.
That's right. That's right. So Don, Are because we have been moving onto the property, my whole life is in boxes that's sitting in various rooms that have to be unpacked. We have not been able to participate in a lot of what's been going on in the Congress. I know this is a lot to ask, but can you give us a bit of the vision? What kind of things have been coming out and what you guys are thinking about for the future?
Absolutely. Um, a lot of what we've been trying to emphasize are common issues and common action, that we don't all have to do the same thing, as
Right.
long as we're all doing something that matters.
I share.
We plan to continue the Pagan World website with this in mind and
Hmm.
encouraging people to whatever common actions they are drawn
I
to.
share.
And we've had a number of different people talk about the actions that are important to them. A lot of people have spoken about education. A lot of people are talking about politics, including myself.
Hmm.
And I was very, very gratified to hear you talking about it this evening. There's been quite a bit of talk about Project 2025,
Yes.
which has been a huge issue to me for 20 years before it
Yes,
had its
right.
name,
Before it happened.
but we've
That's
known
right.
it was coming.
That's right.
Um, Ed the Pagan, my close associate, was raised in a conservative Christian background,
Hmm.
and he knew about these plans long before they became a public thing.
Hmm.
And it was like pulling teeth to get anyone to listen.
Right.
But I think now people are listening.
Yeah.
Now people are seeing. And now those of us who see that there is a danger, hopefully we can get people to do the things needed to defend and survive.
Hmm.
Um,
Hmm.
we can't head it off because it's here,
Right.
but there's still a lot we can do.
Hmm.
And we've had a wide range of people speaking. We've had a number of people from traditional African religion speaking,
Hmm.
as well as a lot of Wiccan and other European traditions. We've had people speaking from every continent. So
Beautiful.
it's been a lovely time. And
Beautiful.
we have one more day to go. So who knows
Hmm.
what other interesting things will happen.
I
But
share.
I thought this was just wonderful. And I thank you so much for joining us.
You're welcome. The healing that I'm going to pray for is, COVID broke us up.
Yes.
COVID made us afraid to gather. COVID made us afraid to touch each other and that kind of stuff. I am praying for the healing of that. And the Jambalaya Center, which we're creating now, is going to be a place where people can gather and be together and talk about stuff and work on the land and meditate and dream and create, because that is what we need to rehumanize us. We need things to rehumanize us, as a lot of people are living under the fear of AI, for example. You know, there are things we need to talk about. There are special projects that we need to pay attention to. For me, hunger, I have never understood why anybody should be hungry. You know, global food security is one of my issues. And the other issue that I'm really dealing with, that I don't know if people are aware, but our babies are being stolen from the hospitals, from the street. And we need to take a look at what's happening there and make sure that in the global village our children are taken care of. So I want to thank you all for doing this, and please keep me informed. I'll keep you all informed of what we are doing, and this has been good.
Thank you so much.
I share.
Thank you. I've certainly enjoyed this.
It's good. It's that time. We have to do it. And Leilani, thank you for being with me. In this book that she showed you, one of the interesting things is we have a cross-cultural chart in there where we have both the African and the Hawaiian ritual for various places in nature. That'll be a good book for people who are re-indigenizing to